Here we are, episode 15, baby.
15! We made it to 15, Todd. I'm so excited.
Now, here's the thing, though. 20 is the big magic point.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Until you hit 20, you've really not made it in life.
No, but, we're getting there. We're almost at the summit. We're almost there. I can't believe it. It's been so much fun, too. Just a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. What did I say to you the other day? I said, I'm truly happy when we're doing this. It's just a lot of fun.
I really enjoy doing it, too. I really wish, to be honest, that we could just do this full time with our lives. But, that's...
We could podcast 24/7, or at least 10 hours a day like we're always working.
Exactly.
12 hours a day. So we could just go off on tangents and, talk about everything under the sun. So, 15, big 15. We have a busy show.
I know we do. We've got weird news to get to, right?
Mm-hmm. Weird news. I've got a couple of weird news stories for you. And I love that I don't tell you what they are.
Right.
Because then I can get your reaction to them without, because we have preconceived notions in our heads of things. And when you don't know what's going on, it's a little bit more, because you don't know what a good show is, Todd.
I know.
All right.
Screw you.
Screw you, Todd. So, some weird news coming up. And we're going to talk about, we have Twisted Tales this week. Twisted Tales. So you're going to give us what?
I got the Beast of Bray Road.
Love this story. I love this legend. And, I always say, there's always the truth, the legend, and then it really is somewhere in between.
Right.
What actually happened, the legend, and then that truth is somewhere in between. So this should be really, really cool.
Then I've got something called Markell story. It's a friend of mine that I actually haven't known that long, a few months at the most. And he is a gentleman who lives with cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been living with his parents. He's 30 some years old now. And his parents, obviously very, very important to him.
Right.
And he lost several family members over the past year and a half. Family members, friends of the family, cousins, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to tell you a story about an experience that I had with him probably within the last 2 weeks or so. So it'll be an interesting story.
And I do know the story, and it's, as I've said before to you when we were talking about it, it's very heartwarming if you are open-minded enough and don't look at it from just one perspective. It's actually very heartwarming and sort of uplifting in a way.
Right.
So it's a wonderful story, and I'm probably going to get teary-eyed at some point, but it's really worth sharing.
We also will be talking about, and maybe we should do this up front, is the fact that we're going to be taking a break for a couple of weeks to kind of change up a few things that we're doing and expand a few things and see how it goes.
Yeah, and we're really excited about it. It's different. It's a season 2. We're gearing up for season 2. Some podcasts don't do seasons, but I think that we should be doing seasons. I think it's a good way to break it up and come up with new ideas and sort of say, okay, the old way is here. Here's the new way. Let's work to get to something different. So we've come up with a whole bunch of different ideas. We're going to have more guests on season 2. We're going to do more interactive things on season 2. We also are starting a Patreon, which if you're not familiar with a Patreon, basically it's your way of supporting us monetarily. It's not a lot of money. Believe me, we don't plan on asking for much money. But in return, we'll give you a lot of extra content that anyone who doesn't subscribe to our Patreon would not see. So it's a lot of bonus stuff, including merchandise.
Yeah, merchandise and video that nobody else gets and audio that nobody else gets. And I think you get a date with Sandy. Isn't that what it is? You get to date you or something like that?
Only if you're cute. No, I'm just kidding. You don't get a date with me.
I don't have it handy. Well, maybe I do. Date with Sandy. And then I play, let me see, something like this. Right?
Yeah, that pretty much is it, because I'm pretty...
Something like that.
You don't know what a good date is, Todd.
I know. So what do you say? Do we get things started?
Yeah, let's get things rolling.
All right.
All right.
I got something special.
Okay.
And now, weird news. Look at that.
All
Weird
right.
news time, baby.
I love it. It's weird news time. All right. Now, the first story that I have is really super cool. A TikTok user named Javier, who lives in Valencia, Spain, has lots of people talking right now because he's made several posts showing empty shopping centers, deserted beaches, quiet roads. And he claims that he woke up in 2027 to find the world deserted. And that's the video of the world in 2027.
What?
Yes. Now, most people think it's just something super creative, sort of a prank. But there are some people who, think it's real. The majority, though, think that he did it during lockdown when in Spain, there was nobody around. I don't know how he got out because I think it was a true lockdown in Spain, wasn't it?
I think so.
But he did get out. His official words are, quote, "I just woke up in a hospital and I don't know what could have happened. Today is February 13th, 2027, and I am alone in the city." He also wrote, "I want to clarify that I am in 2027, but everything I see and where it is stayed in 2021. I think I woke up in 2027 as a parallel reality, and I just remembered my name." Now, this guy has over 1 million followers on his TikTok account, and he has an Instagram account as well. So I'm going with creative and a cool idea. I also am reminded of a story, and if you're old enough, you might remember this. There was a man back in the early 2000s. It was like 2000, 2001. His name was John Titor, and he showed up on different bulletin boards about science and things in 2000, 2001. And he claimed to be an American military time traveler from the year 2036. And a lot of the science nerds will definitely remember John Titor. I've heard about it because I listen to paranormal podcasts and cryptozoology and all that kind of stuff. So I heard about him years ago. But it just reminded me of that. He made a lot of really vague predictions about the future, 2004 and on, and really none of them actually came true. But then he just disappeared. They figured that they kind of traced it years later, and they think that he was an entertainment lawyer. Let me see if I can get this right.
A lawyer, there you go.
I know, right? A 2009 investigation concluded that Titor was likely the creation of Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, along with his brother Maury, a computer scientist. So the cool thing is that it did make people think back then. And so maybe Javier is trying to make people think a little bit now.
Maybe.
But just kind of a cool story, a little bit different.
But hold on here. I mean, like, what if it's real?
What if it is? That's the whole point, is making people think, opening your mind a little bit. What if it is real? What if it is possible? There's a lot of parallel universe theories out there. And being the skeptic that I am, despite the fact that I am what I am and who I am, I do subscribe to some of the ideas that are out there, at least to some extent. So science has shown that there is the possibility of parallel universe or universes. Is that the plural?
Probably, yeah.
Who knows? Universe I. No, I don't know. Is it mouse or meese? But yeah, so I don't know. It's just kind of a cool thing to think about. What if it is possible?
I don't know if I don't want to. Here's the thing. Like, there's some things I don't mind knowing about. There's other things I don't want to know. Because I think at some point when you learn this stuff, your brain literally will explode.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, you're going to sit there and stuff's going to start oozing out of your ear because your brain popped off inside.
Well, let's throw the parallel in there super quick without getting political. But so many people are talking politics now more than ever. And they're so worried about things that are not going to affect us in our daily lives ever. No matter what happens, they won't affect us in our daily lives. And I think that we should really just kind of focus on what's going on in our world and our community and around us right now. amidst all of the craziness that's going on, rather than look at that big picture all the time. So you're right. Maybe the less we know, the better off we are at this point.
Vote Sandy Jean for Republican something or another.
I don't want to.
Endorsed by Sandy Jean and friends of Sandy Jean.
There you go. There you go.
For Sandy Jean Treasurer.
You don't even know what you're talking about, weirdo. What did we say? We're going to be brought to you by, here we go, off on a tangent.
Right.
We were told we go off on tangents. We're going to be brought to you by Screw You, Todd Productions.
That's right. Well, we're going to create, we have Mind Garden Media, and now there's going to be a production company that deals just with our podcast called Screw You, Todd Media.
Screw You, Todd Media. I love it. I love it. You don't know what a good podcast is, Todd.
I don't know anything.
No. All right. So another story. I love these. I just love these. Here comes the skeptic in me once again. Another story of an entity in a nursery. This one is from England. Now, I will say that England is wrought with paranormal activity. I don't think there's an inch of the United Kingdom that does not have something paranormal going on. It doesn't matter what or where. It's crazy.
Right.
There was a woman who, and I watched the video. There actually is
lived in a shoe. I'm sorry.
That was bad. That was just bad. She had her daughter in the nursery, and they have security cameras in there, like the nanny cams. But she was in there. She was in the mirror. She was doing some stuff, and she was watching her daughter walk behind her towards the crib and waving to, I guess, the camera, like up in the camera area. So she went back and she listened to the audio from the nanny cam. And she says she heard heavy breathing. So she replayed it again and again. And she swears she could hear someone saying, "Help me," like 4 or 5 times.
Stop.
So then there was a light bulb in her bedroom that exploded a little while later. It doesn't say whether she had any paranormal activity previously, but I did watch the video. She did contact the nanny cam manufacturer. They said that there's no way anybody could hack it because they use that two-party authentication, two-way authentication.
So basically nobody from an outside source could be sending radio waves over it? Is that
Exactly. So I watched the video, and I think that if you're very imaginative, it probably does say "help me" 3, 4 times. The problem, though, is that I can't figure out what it could be. I want to debunk it really bad, like 100% debunk it, but I can't figure out what it is. What makes it even more interesting is that the little girl actually seems to be interacting with something. So I don't know. I guess if you're open-minded to it, you can hear "help me." I could, knowing what it was. If I had just listened to it, not knowing what I was supposed to be listening for, maybe 50%. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think about that stuff? Do you think that I hear a lot of people talk about posting things on Reddit. I'm not too well versed in Reddit. I have the app, but a lot of people go on there. Do you think it's just to stir things up? Do you think it's just to sort of get some attention?
No, I mean, I think some people experience some things. And again, we've had the conversation of, I think that we need to realize that if somebody honestly experiences something, then you have to give them at least some support through that.
Right.
So, if they're honestly experiencing stuff, I think we have to take a look at it without too much judgment, unless, of course, it's just absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can never separate those people who are trying to be ridiculous from those, who are trying to actually reach out and tell a story.
Yeah, and I'm not really discounting her. I mean, if she truly believes that there's something there, then who am I to tell her there's not?
Right.
But that's where the not being able to debunk it fully comes in. I don't know. But again, if I didn't know what I was listening to, I don't know that I would necessarily think that, you have Class A EVPs where you can tell exactly what something is saying, and then you have sort of that fuzzy area. So I don't know.
And that's in the fuzzy area?
For me, it is. It's, if she had said that she had other paranormal things going on, maybe.
Gotcha.
Possibly, but it is England, by the way. So who knows?
So what? The ghost talks in an English accent? What it was? I mean,
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it just be wonderful?
Where's the queen?
I always am surprised that you don't get more, especially over in Europe, you don't get more accents. I have heard EVPs that have come in other languages. I had one myself, Celtic. But I don't know. It's kind of cool. It would be cool to hear that. I don't know. It's interesting that we can hear it, even if it's in Germany. Someone who never learned an ounce of English, you're in Germany, but yet they communicate in English.
Well, if you can communicate, I mean, your energy can communicate. Maybe you can communicate however that person can understand it.
Totally agree. So it's just really weird how that is possible. But so that is weird news.
All right. Sounds good. That was weird news. How do you like that?
I love it. So cool.
Weird news.
I love it. It's a staple. It's a staple.
So what do you want?
I have a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I come across, and it's hard for me to narrow them down. There's a lot of weirdness in the world.
Well, exactly. I mean, and that really kind of ties into this week's Twisted Tale, too, because we all kind of have heard one of those stories. I think every small town, every small burg, every small burb has some sort of story that everybody tells from generation to generation to generation. And so, we do the Twisted Towns. We tell the stories of the St. Nazians of the world and Utica, New York, and all that kind of stuff. But we're also going to take that twisted side of things and talk about twisted tales, just stories that, again, could there be some truth to some of these? Sure. Could there be some folklore to it as well? And other stuff? Absolutely. So that's kind of what we're going to do.
But don't you think that's more fun to have sort of that mixture? And, I love the stories. We have a few of them right in central New York, in the Syracuse area, of stories where, if you go down this winding road during the fog on a Friday night, the third week of the harvest, you'll see the bride walking down the street,
Right.
And, obviously something may have happened originally, and then it just got turned into this great legend so that everybody and their brother is going there during the fog on a Friday night in the third week of the harvest and trying to find this ghost. And it just makes it a lot of fun. The things like this are yes, they're scary, I guess, if you see one, but they're fun.
They are fun, and until you actually run into one.
Yeah. And then it gets a little scary. I've never experienced it.
Like this guy right here. We shared a picture of this on our live cast earlier in the week. That is what is known as the Beast of Bray Road.
Gosh, as we said, it's hard to find. It's hard to think that that's a costume. We'll put it that way.
Right.
It's very difficult for me to say, oh, that's just a costume. And you know me, I'm the first one to say, oh, that's just a costume. So
just in everyday life, she'll walk down up to somebody on the street. It's just a costume.
And she'll walk over there. Costume.
You don't know a good show. That's just a costume. And then she walks away.
You don't know a good costume. Get a Frankenstein.
Here's an artist description of what I'm going to talk about here, too. This is what the artist thinks that this looks like.
That is very, very spooky. And all my hunter friends will be like, oh, my God, where is that deer?
Yeah, but
that's like an 84 pointer.
Yeah, but they'll talk like this. Hey, where's that deer?
They will, too. Where's that deer? Where's that Beast of Bray Road?
Well,
maybe we can team up
and go check it out. This is actually here in Wisconsin. So when you come visit, maybe we should go to Bray Road.
We should. Oh, my gosh. Wouldn't that be fun?
So here is your Twisted Tale, the Beast of Bray Road. A hairy humanoid with canine features, known as the Beast of Bray Road, has been sighted in Wisconsin dating back to 1936 in rural areas outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin. More recently, in the 1980s and 1990s, also seen in Racine, Walworth, and Jefferson counties. Those who've seen the beast describe him as eating or hunting, scavenging. And we kind of see that in that artist depiction of that of the beast. Also known as man-wolf, bear-wolf, and indigenous dog-man. It's said to be about 6 feet tall with gray and brown fur. Face resembles that of a wolf with shiny yellow eyes and pointed ears. Its body, though furry, looks like a muscular man. The creature is said to run and walk on all 4 of its legs or just its hind legs, and has been spied sitting on its haunches and kneeling like a man.
That's scary. That's scary. How far are you from, like, did you say it's Elkhorn?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like around the corner. It would be probably an hour drive to get to any of these locations that seem to see the Beast of Bray Road.
That's not bad at all. I think we should go check it out. Why not?
Some people believe it's a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Others believe it's Bigfoot, and some believe it's some unidentified species yet. Though it's never attacked anyone, some witnesses claim that it has acted aggressively, running at them and jumping onto their vehicles. Researchers consider the Beast of Bray Road to be identical to a kind of Wisconsin Bigfoot that locals call Bluff Monster or the Eddie. Others, including Native Americans, believe it to be the Wendigo, which was also often spied in Minnesota and now also in Wisconsin. That, the Wendigo, is a wolf, a bear, or a large feral dog. So this is like a werewolf creature that wanders Wisconsin and is known as the Beast of Bray Road.
You know, I'm always really fascinated and very interested in the way that these legends translate through different cultures.
Right.
And how they transform. You know, there's a lot of legends and stories out there that originated with the Native Americans. And I am a believer that the Native Americans did experience some of this stuff. That this, you know, there's things called skinwalkers that can change shape and form and come and go, and they can be very aggressive. The Beast of Bray Road makes me think of, all right, let's look at it from this angle, Todd. Let's look at it as it is a creature that does exist.
Okay.
And it's a real creature. Something evolved over the years. Something happened to turn it into what it is today. You know, the evolution of a creature. Something went wrong in the DNA of wolves or something that created this over the years. There's got to be more than one, because if it's not supernatural and it's an actual mutation, it's not going to live for as many years as this legend has been going on, which means that there's more than one because they have to breed. That's a little bit scary and unsettling to know that there probably is more than one of them. And if you look at it from a paranormal standpoint, that's freaking scary too, because now this thing is like a powerhouse because it can survive as long as you know. And I always thought it was interesting too. Do they come and go? Do they go through? There's a lot of theories about Sasquatch that they come and go through a time slip. That's why we don't see them everywhere. That it's not just that they're territorial; it's that, you know, they come and go. I don't know. There's so many angles to look at it. What do you think? What do you think that the Beast of Bray Road could be?
I think that, okay, so from a just a everyday standpoint, probably some sort of wolf or something of that nature. Maybe a bear. Somebody says, oh, I saw this creature, and they thought it was a wolf. Somebody else saw something that looked more humanoid because it was maybe more bear-like. And then the two meld together, and then all of a sudden you've got something. Yeah. Or, you know, there's a lot of discussion about how aliens have a lot to do with hauntings and things like Sasquatch and things like the Beast of Bray Road. And it's actually something from another world, another universe, another dimension that as you mentioned, comes and goes and can present itself in different ways. In fact, we talked on earlier this week about a TV show that I started watching this week called the Ghost Brothers.
Yeah.
And the episode I just watched was about doppelgangers. And I have never, and maybe I'm just nuts, but in the realm of paranormal investigating, I had never heard that term really used in paranormal investigation. I've heard of shapeshifters and things of that nature where they present as something that they're not. I'd never heard the term doppelganger used. But again, in this situation, in paranormal research, there is a belief that energies can present themselves in different ways. So if that's the case, maybe this is nothing more than an energy presenting itself as this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could do a freaking flow chart, and start
You
up here.
could.
Is this the Beast of Bray Road? Yes, go here. Is this the Beast of Bray Road? I don't know. Does it look like a wolf? Yes. Does it look like a bear? Yeah, you could do the whole freaking flow chart behind you and still not have an answer down in the lower right-hand corner of your board.
And the problem, too, is that people are very biased. So in other words, if somebody says to you, hey, Todd, I went down to Bray Road last week and I saw the Beast of Bray Road and this is what it looked like, and you go down to Bray Road and you see something moving in the trees, it automatically becomes exactly what your friend told you
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. We are created to kind of do that in life. Like
right.
That happens with politics. Somebody tells you something's good or something's bad. That's your belief system.
Right. Yeah.
So this is nothing different. It's just now we're talking about something that may or may not be human, a humanoid living on a road in Wisconsin.
I definitely think we need to go to Bray Road without a doubt.
Well, it reminds me too of the reports of Chupacabra and all that kind of stuff. It's like regional kind of stuff.
Sure. The Mothman. That's a huge one. We should do a twisted tale on the Mothman. That's interesting.
You do a twisted tale on the Mothman.
I'll do a twisted tale on the Mothman because I've watched all that stuff. But it's true. These things are continued over the years because they're so interesting and they're so mysterious and they're so spooky. I don't know that Sasquatch exists, that there's really a Bigfoot. I don't know that he does exist. I don't know that they don't exist. But the fun in it is coming up with all the different ideas and the theories and interacting and kind of learning from each other about each other and thought processes and things like that. My sneaking suspicion is that if there is something indeed in those areas, it probably is something more science-based. I just get that feeling that it's probably there's some sort of mutation that occurred, and I just feel like there's something going on. So a human and a wolf
had sex and they had a baby? Is that what you're saying?
No, I did not say that. I said genetically the DNA mutated and something happened along the way. And I don't think that it's that much of a difference between, say, a wolf or, a bear. But in our minds over the years, it's become, if you look at that picture, that really, to me, does look like it could be some sort of, not wolf really bear. Hybrid, but yeah, you know what I mean? It just doesn't look like. And it's also fuzzy. It's a good picture, though. I have to say.
What about the arms? Like, what about the bony arms? Isn't that an arm that you can actually see through?
Yeah, that's creepy. That's really creepy. But then if you look at the lower body, that's all wolf.
Sure.
You can see the furry tail. You can see the legs. The makeup of the legs is very canine. The head is canine to some extent. But then that looks a little altered to me. I don't know. It's a very good picture. There's not too much you can pick apart on it. I would say that it's got to be some kind of genetic mutation. I don't know if it's something paranormal per se, but that's the fun of it. We just are never going to know.
Yeah. I don't want to speculate as to what it could be. I think that it could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool to find out one day, but I'm not going to spend my life researching that.
No.
No. But
it's sort of like Bigfoot, though. Like, we've never, ever gotten true evidence of Bigfoot. After all these years, Nobody's ever going to get true evidence of the Beast of Bray Road. It's just not going to happen. But it's fun to talk about.
You heard it here first from Sandy. We'll never know.
We'll never know. That sounds like weird news.
Kind of. That's our new segment. We'll never know.
That's really actually a good idea for a segment. I like that. We'll
See,
never know.
I've just got all these ideas. We'll never have enough podcast time to do all the ideas I have.
Another reason why we should be podcasting 10 hours a day instead of working.
I like that idea. We just talk and talk and talk.
I do
Is
too.
she wearing underpants?
Oh my God. Someday we'll talk about the underwear.
Let's talk about it real quick.
So what did I do? I messaged you the other night or the other morning and I said,
I'm not wearing underpants.
No, I knew that was coming at some point. And the things that we talk about are so strange that only we would understand. People are going to scratch their heads at this. But I texted you and I said, why is it that every morning when I wake up, I'm not wearing my underwear? They're down around my ankles, basically.
First of all, and so let me just interject. Why am I being asked this question? How would I know what you do in the middle of the night?
Because
Why
you're the
would I
first
care?
person I think of. Because you're the first person I think of.
When your pants are down, your underpants are down around your ankles, I'm the first person you think of.
Apparently so.
Okay.
Apparently so. So then you
We
got
need to have a
into this
conversation after the podcast.
And so this, you're such a jerk.
Our final episode of the podcast ever.
We broke up completely. We're done. No, so my thought is obviously that I move around a lot during the night. And so they're never exactly where they started. Well, your response was that it must be demon sex. Demon sex? What? So then we had a back and forth about that. It was not demon sex. Then you told me that I should protect myself at night, and
here you have to be careful because you're
careful about what?
Well, we don't know about our dreams. You just had a dream. We talked about it in our live cast earlier this week about your dream about going to a house and seeing all this stuff happen. Really, and we weren't sure what that dream meant, if it was a premonition of something that you were going to experience as a medium in the future. We don't know. So think about that aspect of it and think about the type of information that you're fed daily from the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that, and we're not going to get into it again, but like you walked into a black mist and, emotions and stuff can latch on to you.
Right.
So protect yourself.
I do, but I really believe that it's just because I move around a lot. Maybe I should wear different kind of panties.
That would be the first step in getting to the bottom of what's going on.
Right.
Yes.
Because I wear a lot of like satiny, silky stuff. So maybe I shouldn't wear. Well, you're having this conversation with me. So you're going to get the answers.
It's one thing to say the word panty. It's another to say silky, And then if you throw in lacy, then we've got a problem.
All right. I won't talk about lacy panties. All right.
right.
So anyway, so maybe I should try something a little more granny and cottony.
Maybe some tidy whities one night just to see how they go.
Maybe I'll wear some boxer shorts.
There you go.
There we go. And I'll see what happens.
And here's the other thing. If you're just slipping out of your underwear for no good reason, you may want to check into that too. Because, here you are walking down the street and all of a sudden, whoops, they're gone, To
even feed the fuel of your fire even more, I wake up like the next morning and somehow at night, because I do move around a lot, somehow I had pulled a muscle in my thigh.
Yeah,
and that just kept you going. That kept you going all day long about my demon sex. I
don't want to get into the possibilities there, but I think people can imagine themselves if my theory is correct. Well, and now you've woken up with pains and soreness. I think you got to be careful. Got to be careful.
All right. So these are our two choices. Either I am just wearing the wrong panties and I move around a lot, or I'm having
Right.
demon sex and I don't realize it.
Correct. And I think we all know that number 2 is probably where it's at. Just
But
saying.
I will say this. Let me say this. I did listen to your quote advice. I'm going to do this quote advice. And I did say a prayer before I went to bed that night.
Dear
And
BeJesus,
dear
please don't let my
BeJesus,
pants come off.
and BeJesus answered me and he said, uh,
Well, let me ask you a question. So you're telling me you don't want your underwear to slide down to your ankles anymore? Because that's something I've been enjoying doing.
so that was what BeJesus said.
Right.
And then, and I did wear my black tourmaline that night. And I woke up the next morning and my thigh actually felt better and my underwear were up.
Thank you.
And I haven't had any problems.
Thank you. Now,
So
we have to wait.
know.
I don't know what the gestation period is for demons, but if it's the same as humans, we'll have to wait 9 months to see if something pops out.
The miracle baby. So yeah. So that was my panty story.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm glad you did.
You asked me to explain it to everybody. So there you go. That one's on you, BeJesus. Anyways. Oh, BeJesus. So let's talk about Markell.
Oh, yeah. Markell's story. Markell is a friend of mine who I met online, I don't know, a few months ago. He's in his 30s. He's a black man who has lived with CP, cerebral palsy, his entire life.
Right.
And I don't know. I think the connection came because of the cerebral palsy, because I'm one of my best friends has CP. And I may have posted something about CP or whatever, and that is what kind of linked us together. But he's in a wheelchair, and I look at him in his 30s, and I look at my friend who I believe is in his late 20s, and the difference as to where they're at with their condition is very different. My friend who has it, who I've known a long time, it still walks. I mean, he has difficulty walking, but he walks. He still has a lot of movement in his limbs and stuff like that. Markell is in a wheelchair. And so at any rate, we became friends, and he's also into a lot of history stuff. He loves like retro stuff. If there's stories about Atlanta, about the old courthouse that sat on the corner of Wingding and Schlingeling or whatever, he loves that stuff. He's really into family trees and stuff like that. So we've talked a lot about that, and he's questioned a lot about like his friends and family members who have passed away. Like, how could he contact them? He needed to find out who some of his grandparents were for his family trees. Like, how do I reach out and find that? Not like in a book, but maybe in another way. Right. At any rate, I know he's been going through a lot. And so he messaged me a few days ago, March 15th, he messaged me. And the week prior, he had been really going through some bad times because since I've known him, he lost another family member. And I got a message from him on March 15th that said, Todd, I'm in a nightmare right now. And as soon as I got that message from him, I knew his mom had passed away. And I said, what's up? And he said, my mom passed away this morning. I asked, what had happened? He said stroke or a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, when you said you were in a nightmare, I immediately knew. I'm sorry. And he said, I fucking hate this year. So apparently what happened was she was healthy. There were no signs of anything. She wasn't on medication for anything, whatever. But apparently in the middle of the night, she either had a stroke or a heart attack. Right. And she passed away. Mm-hmm. This was his life. This was his mother. This was let's just say it, his caregiver. Right. She took care of him. Markell is not someone that can take care of himself. Yeah. He can't go to the bathroom by himself. He can't eat by himself. I mean, there's all of that. And so his mom was the one who was the primary caregiver. He lived with his parents. And so now she's gone. Can you imagine what that's got to feel like?
It's a loss. Like, I I I hope that people don't have to experience in quite that manner. We all have relatives that are taken too young. We have relatives who die. It's their time,
Sure.
they're up there in age, but to lose your essential lifeline without knowing that it's coming is so devastating. I can't even imagine what this poor guy is going through.
And in the back, and I asked you this last night when we were chatting about it online. I said, so here's this guy. He's got cerebral palsy and has lived with this all his life, has been in a wheelchair, lives with his parents, has recently seen all these family members and friends die. And now he's got to deal with this. Like the one person in his life that he always counted on and it was always there is ripped out of his life. And why does that happen? And I'm not trying to question anybody, but anybody who believes in God or a God or whatever, while maybe there's a lesson here to be learned somehow, why would that have to happen?
Well, and this is where I said that this is a very, for somebody who is a little bit open-minded and looks at things from different perspectives in the world, I believe that everything in life happens to us for a reason. I know that's very cliche, but I do believe it.
I do
believe it. And I wrote this to you last night, and I'm going to quote myself because it's easier than remembering. Some people might look at it as that poor man, what else could happen to him? But maybe it's to make him realize his own inner strength and conviction, to bring his father closer to him. His father might actually need him as much as he needs his father in certain ways. And maybe his mother's work was done. Maybe her work to take care of him and get him to that point in his life where he's becoming stronger his inner strength is becoming stronger. Maybe her work is done, and maybe his father really needs to be able to gain strength and learn from this as well. I do believe that life is a lot of lessons. I believe we're put here so that we can learn and grow and learn lessons about ourselves and other people. And maybe this was what needed to be done. Maybe Markell needs to learn his own inner strength. Maybe he needs to learn to become more independent. Maybe his father needs him. Maybe his father, needs Markell as much as Markell now needs his father. We'll never know. But I try to look at things from that angle of, there's got to be a reason for it somewhere. Will we ever know for sure? Of course not. But if Markell and his father were not as close as Markell and his mother, and now they become closer, and his father is there with him, isn't that a wonderful thing? Sometimes you have to look at things from a different perspective and say, maybe this wasn't the worst thing that could happen because now Markell is closer to his father and his father is closer to him.
Right.
They can grow together. It's just the way that I tend to try to look at things. Not everybody does, and there's no right or wrong. But that's just how I explain it, regardless of whether you're a religious person or not. I do believe that there are reasons why things do happen to us. And then, what happened?
Well, I'll also just say really quickly that I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think that's all quite possible and probably more than possible. But I still think about this young gentleman who, has had to deal with this. And it seems like an awful lot. It seems like, let's teach some assholes some lessons once in a while. I can name about 5 of them right now that need a fucking lesson.
So can I. I've got the list over here.
So people who, have already had a shit life, maybe cut them a fucking break. So then I get a text from him, a message from him yesterday or the day before. I guess it was the day before. And he said, Mom came to check on our miracle baby last night. And I said, you saw her? Tell me the story. And he said, Dad did when he was up at 4:00 in the morning. Dad was eating in the living room. She walked out of my room smiling. She looked at my dad, smiled, and then walked out of the front door. So
I'm
I
getting
said,
goosebumps right now.
I said, how did he respond? And basically his dad was a little teary-eyed and shocked over the whole thing, what you would expect. Because his dad is not somebody who is like you and I who, believes in stuff and all that. His dad's a typical, father who, has lived his life and black is black and white is white and this is right and this is wrong and whatever. And now all of a sudden he has this experience. And the nice thing is when his mom passed away, and you've probably had this conversation with plenty of people in your life too, you try to explain to them and console them by letting them know that that person is going to always be with them. Pretty much whenever they want that to happen, it can happen. It may not be seeing them in front of you or having an actual conversation with you, but that feeling, that touch, that sound, that smell, the knowledge that they're able to hear you and understand you and know when you're happy and know when you're sad and all that kind of stuff. That's real. In my mind, that is real.
And I will tell you this. I thought about it a lot after we stopped talking about it last night. It's very interesting that she showed herself to Markell's father and not to Markell. Now, that makes me think that because Markell's father maybe isn't a quote believer as much as someone else might be, that maybe Markell's father needed to see her first and foremost more than anyone. Again, it sort of comes around to my theory that maybe Markell's father needs Markell a lot more now, and that she came to Markell's father as a way of saying, it's real, it's okay, it's going to be okay. I want you to see me. I want you to know that I'm here and I'll always be here. Now, will she ever show herself to Markell? I have a feeling that she will.
I'm sure she will.
If she doesn't, he'll feel her there in other ways. Things will happen for him that will tell him that his mama is there. Okay. I think the other reason that she may have shown herself to Markell's father is because when we're in that state of grief and we're very emotional, which he seems to be a more emotionally centered person, we tend to sort of see things or feel things that we wouldn't normally see or feel. So I don't think she needed for him to see her at that point. Maybe down the road when his grief is sort of starting to settle into that everyday routine, I think that's when he'll see her. I don't think it would have been good for Markell to see her then. And this is all, person by person. This isn't just a broad sweeping idea. But I think in Markell's case, it was probably better for him to not have seen her and better for his father to have seen her. But she'll always be there. She will always be there. There was such a bond and a connection between them. She's not going to leave his side. She'll always be there with him.
Well, and I said to him, I said, I told you that. Did you believe me when I was telling you that she would always be there? And he said, well, I do now. So the message, even if she didn't see him, the message got to him. That
came through.
The message came through. And I think you're right. I think Markell's father needed to see her before anything else. And again, you're probably right. I mean, everything does happen for a reason. But I'm going to pray to the almighty guru of whoever's in charge of right and wrong and who creates our lives for us, whatever that is. I just want to say this. Cut the guy some slack.
Agreed. So
And,
much.
I don't wish bad. I really don't wish bad upon anybody, even if you're a fucking asshole. I'm usually, everybody gets theirs is my
Oh,
thought
yeah.
process.
There is a karma train.
Karma comes around pretty goddamn hard. Sometimes it takes years or decades for it to happen, but it will happen. And trust me, I'm going to have my own coming my way, I'm sure.
So will I.
But I don't wish bad upon anybody, but it's really hard sometimes to see people suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer. And at some point, I just want to stand up and say, enough is enough.
Yeah. How many lessons can we learn? How many lessons do we have to learn? And I've always wondered, why do these jerks get so much in life? And here I'm struggling to be me and to do my thing, and I can't catch a break sometimes.
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, let's be honest. You and I, well, you're definitely a millionaire, rich lady, but neither one of us, I mean, we live very, very simply.
Yeah, we do.
Neither one of us make a ton of money, nothing like that.
Nope. We enjoy the things we enjoy.
Correct. And so we may not have a lot of money, but maybe in some other ways we're richer because of our beliefs and the experiences we've had and all that kind of stuff. But still, in this one case, at least, give this guy a break.
Yeah.
At this point, I think he's lost enough. So
I don't know. I think that maybe this is where he needs to be now. This is where he needs to be. He and his father will obviously grow closer, and they will develop maybe a relationship that they weren't able to develop when his mom was alive.
I would bet money that is absolutely the case.
Sure.
But
it doesn't make it any better or any easier or any nicer. You have to find the positive in the negative always. And that's what I try to do. But by the same token, come on, this is bullshit. This poor guy already has 12 strikes against him. Why does he need 13? So it sucks. But but it is though, Todd, I really believe it's a heartwarming story, and that now they both know that she's there.
Sandy, this is God. Are you questioning me? You said he had 12 strikes against him. Why 13? Do you want to know why?
Why?
I like that number. It's my favorite number.
We got to get that thing away from you. Oh my God.
Oh, I could do a devil too. A devil's voice. Ooh, it's so good.
Oh my gosh. We have to get that thing away from you.
Gotta find the settings, and I'll be ready for next podcast.
We'll be ready for season 2. The devil comes to the Sandy and Toddcast.
The devil comes home.
That's great. That's great.
BeJesus comes to rest, or whatever we call it.
BeJesus. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. Big thank you to Bangladesh. I love doing that too. Nope. No, a big thank you to Dan Phillips for our intro and outro music. You can find Dan on Facebook at Daniel Phillips Music and at Instagram at D_Phillips Music. I love Dan, and he's so talented, and he has such a great musical quality to him. He's fantastic. He has an Etsy store, just great. So big thank you to Dan Phillips. And then you can listen to us anywhere that you find your podcast. We're discovering every week new places that we are that we didn't know we were on, because they all link to each other somehow. So Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Ghana, my favorite Ghana. You can hear us on Facebook. Just please be sure to leave us a review, even if it's a quick review. That's how we grow, is through our reviews. So we'd love it if you guys could give us a review.
Subscribe to us. That's really important too, because whenever something new comes out, and that's not just on your podcast listening, but even on Facebook, if you subscribe to our videos and stuff like that, when we do a live, you'll get a notification that we've gone live, and you can join us and actually interact with us, because we're going to do more of that as we go into season 2. We're going to try and do a little more often.
Yeah. And if you have stories that you want to share with us, paranormal stories, just something funny that happened to you. We are a paranormal podcast, but we kind of go in all different directions. Like Lisa said, our friend Lisa, we go on tangents all the time. We have a lot of fun with it. So we'd love to have you as a guest on the show with us. It would be so much fun.
It could be.
It would be.
And I promise we won't make you tell stories about losing your panties in the middle of the night.
No, only Todd makes me do those things.
Come on, that's a lot of fun.
Thank you guys for season 1. We love you very, very much.
We will be back for season 2. Between now and then, we'll be doing some live stuff and getting our Patreon set up. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So that's in the middle of being set up now, and you're going to love the stuff we want to offer you.
All right. See ya. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.